The IDF spokesman announced on Saturday evening that the remains of 6 Israeli hostages kidnapped into the Gaza Strip on October 7th had been discovered in a Hamas terror tunnel. Sadly, the conditions of these remains indicates that they were murdered shortly before the IDF found them. Meanwhile, Hamas has stepped up its efforts in terrorism in Judea and Samaria, detonating a pair of car bombs near the Gush Etzion community and carrying out shooting attacks in Tarkamia, which left 3 Israeli police officers dead. The IDF is also stepping up its counter-terrorism efforts, eliminating 26 terrorists in a series of security sweeps over the weekend, including 2 senior Hamas field commanders. On the northern border, the IDF is keeping up the pressure on the Iranian-backed terror group Hezbollah, striking firing positions, weapons depots, and more. But this day is a very painful and sad day for all of the people of Israel. So let's dive into the details. I'm Yair Pinto, and this is your Boots on the Ground report about what is happening in Israel on the 331st day of the war against Hamas, Hezbollah, and all of Iran's terror proxies in Yemen, Iraq, and Syria. Over the weekend, the families of 6 Israeli hostages who were murdered in captivity by Hamas were informed that the remains of their loved ones had been located and retrieved. Their names are Hirsch Goldberg Polin, Uri Danino, Eden Yerushalmi, Alex Lubnov, Almog Sarusi, and Carmel Gat. The families announced the difficult news this morning, one after the other, and the IDF spokesman confirmed the death of the 6 hostages. In a short and dramatic message published Saturday evening against the backdrop of the many rumors and unverified reports on social media, it was stated that the process of identification and rescue has not yet been completed. On Sunday morning, IDF spokesman Rear Admiral Daniel Agari announced that these hostages were brutally murdered shortly before we reached them. They were kidnapped alive. They were located in an underground tunnel a kilometer away from where Farhan Kadi, an Israeli hostage that was rescued alive, was located. We did not know their exact location. We acted with extreme caution after locating Farhan nearby. It is impossible to describe in words what the abductees have been going through since the October 7th attacks. This news shakes all of us. United States President Joe Biden said this morning in a special statement dedicated to the issue that earlier today, in a tunnel under the city of RAFAH in the Gaza Strip, Israeli forces located 6 bodies of hostages held by Hamas. I am heartbroken and angry, he added. Make no mistakes, the leaders of Hamas will pay for these crimes, and we will continue to work around the clock for a deal that will guarantee the release of the remaining hostages. President Biden's statements also included a special message of condolences for the family of Hirsch Goldberg Polin, who was an American citizen. I am broken and angry. Hirsch was one of the innocents attacked during the music festival for peace in Israel on October 7. He lost his hand while helping others during the massacre committed by Hamas. Later on Sunday morning, some more details emerged about these events. The IDF discovered the remains of these murdered hostages in a tunnel in Rafah, about 1 kilometer away from the tunnel where freed hostage Farhan Kadi was found last week. The IDF knew that there were hostages being held in this area, but they didn't know precisely where they were being held or who they included. The remains were found alone, as the Hamas terrorists who executed them fled before the IDF arrived. The remains were immediately returned to Israeli territory, where police forensics teams worked to identify them. This is believed to have been at least the second time hostages were executed in this way, as IDF forces were closing in on their captures. This is a reminder to all of us that Hamas is a murderous terrorist organization that holds the residents of the Gaza Strip as its human shields, an organization that brings to the world an ideology of hatred and murder. So please help us to continue to spread the truth. Share this video on YouTube, subscribe, to this channel and follow us on social media, where we are building a robust platform to keep you informed of events in real time. Search for TBN Israel on all of your favorite social media platforms and subscribe to stay informed with what is happening in Israel during these crucial times. The news of the murdered hostages was not the only bad news Israelis got on Sunday morning, as 3 Israeli police officers were also murdered in a shooting attack on Route 35 east of the Tarkumia crossing in the south of Mount Hermon. Police found an abandoned vehicle nearby, which they suspect was used by the shooters, and a search of the area was launched to find them. We will continue to update you on this story as it unfolds. As always, the first to arrive on the scene of the shooting were the paramedics of Magen David Adom, even while there was still the possibility that the shooters would return. This willingness to put their own lives in danger to treat people wounded in terrorist attacks, accidents, and natural disasters is the foundation of the war culture at Magen David Adom. These volunteers work day and night to save lives all over Israel, whether the injured are Jews, Arabs, Christians, Muslims, residents, tourists, young, old, or whatever. They depend entirely on donations. So if you want to be part of the Magen David Adom team, you can make a donation at this link, which will also be on the description box of this YouTube video. Now back to the news. On Saturday evening, a vehicle exploded at the Gush Etzion intersection south of Jerusalem in Judea and Samaria at 11:27 p.m. Nearby security forces quickly neutralized the terrorist who had driven the car to the intersection. 6 other individuals suspected of involvement in the attack were arrested, while an investigation of an explosive laboratory in nearby Hebron was blown up. The IDF and the Shin Bet believe that the combined attack overnight between Friday and Saturday was meant to be particularly murderous and change the reality on the ground. However, the car bomb at the gas station in Gush Etzion exploded prematurely due to a technical fault. A second car bomb managed to penetrate the gate of the village called Karmei Tzur a short time later, but the security guard rammed this car with his own vehicle, causing it to go off prematurely, as well as saving the community from a much bigger tragedy. Before we continue with this report, I will ask you to once again help us spread the truth by sharing this video on YouTube, subscribing to this channel, and following us on social media. It really makes a difference. Take a minute and click the follow button so that you'll never miss an update. Over the weekend, the IDF launched a new phase of the summer camps operation in Samaria. 26 terrorists were eliminated, including the head of the terrorist organization of Hamas in Jenin, the head of the terrorist organization of Hamas in Nur el-Shams, a senior Palestinian Islamic Jihad operative, as well as others. At the beginning of the operation, an aircraft attacked an operations room in the Nur el-Shams region in the Menashe Brigade. Among the terrorists who were eliminated was Gabriel Ghassan Ismail Gabriel, a terrorist who was released from prison after making a deal with Hamas in November 2023 and returned to engage in terrorist activities in the area of Tulkarem and Kalkilia. Later, the IDF eliminated 5 terrorists who were hiding in a mosque. Among the terrorists was Muhammad Jaber Abu Sajaha, the leader of Hamas in Nur el-Shams, who was involved in many attacks, including directing the shooting attacks last June, during which the late Amnon Mukhtar was murdered. Saturday night, the IDF eliminated the head of Hamas in Jenin, Wassam Hazen, while he was traveling in a car in the Jenin area, along with 2 of his henchmen who were also in that car. A search of the car also uncovered weapons and tens of thousands of Israeli shekels in cash. Operations were also being conducted to clear terrorists from the Faroch camp in the Beka and Emakim divisions. Simultaneously, the search is continuing for terrorists who carried out a shooting attack that left 3 police officers dead on Route 35 near Tarkumia, south of Jerusalem, in Judah on Sunday morning. We will keep you updated on these developments going forward. Switching our focus to the northern border, on Saturday morning, the forces of the 869th Intelligence Unit identified terrorists entering a Hezbollah military command post in the Markaba area in southern Lebanon. An airstrike was called in on this position and the command post was destroyed. Meanwhile, IDF artillery units attacked several Hezbollah positions in southern Lebanon. Reports in the London-based newspaper El Sharak El Awsat news portal over the weekend indicate that after last Sunday's preemptive strike, in which the IDF destroyed dozens of Hezbollah rocket launchers, new firing positions have been prepared and more rockets have been moved into position to be loaded and fired from these launchers towards Israel. The same report also indicated claims by sources in Lebanon that Hezbollah's arsenal of suicide drones has been largely unaffected by the Israeli strikes because they are very easy to move around and require very little supporting equipment. They also have extended ranges that allow Hezbollah to fire them from further north inside Lebanon, out of range of most Israeli artillery. So please continue to spread the truth, share and follow us, and take an active part in supporting our work so that we can keep creating daily videos from here in Jerusalem to you, wherever you are around the world. You can do so by clicking the donate button on YouTube or by going to our website at www.tbn.org/Israel. Switching our focus once again to the threat from the Iranian-backed Houthi rebel group in Yemen. The leader of this group, Abd el-Malak el-Houthi, made a speech last Thursday in which he declared that he was preparing to strike Israel with what he called surprising timing. Needless to say, this is just another of the many threats that the Houthis have been making since Israel retaliated for a Houthi UAV strike on Tel Aviv last month by destroying the port of Judea, which the Houthis use to import weapons from Iran. However, it must be admitted that the Houthis certainly have been active over the past month, including an attack that they carried out last week on a Greek-flagged oil tanker carrying over 1 million barrels of oil through the Red Sea. This ship, the Gion, had to be abandoned by the crew and is now adrift on fire. The Houthis have also set additional fires on the ship, threatening an environmental catastrophe for the entire region. The Iranian representation for the United Nations announced over the weekend that the Houthis have agreed to allow salvage teams to try and board the ship to prevent what could be one of the largest oil spills in history. However, the Houthis also made it clear that this is only a temporary respite and it will continue attacking ships sailing through the Bab el-Mandab Straits and the Red Sea. They say this is in retaliation for Israel's battle against Hamas in the Gaza Strip, although few of the ships that they attacked have any connection whatsoever to Israel. Here at TBN Israel, we will continue to update you on these events going forward. I want to conclude by paying my last respects to a hero who fell defending the state of Israel in this war. Sergeant Elkanah Navon, 20 years of age from Petah Tikva, was killed in action while battling against terrorists in Jenin on Saturday afternoon. So please continue to spread the truth, share and follow us, and more importantly, pray for the peace of the IDF soldiers, pray for the people of Israel, pray for the safe and speedy return of the abductees, all of them from the Gaza Strip, to be reunited with their loved ones. Pray for all the civilians that are affected by these terrorist organizations, and pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And together we will win this war.